Good evening, and welcome to this regular meeting of the Helotes City Council. It's September 14th, 2017, and we're underway at 7 p.m. We'll open our agenda tonight with the invocation, and then follow that with the pledges to the American and Texas flags. And Cynthia, you're doing the invocation? Okay. Council Member Massey will be doing the invocation for us. So if you would please stand for the invocation and pledges.
Dear Lord, you are a great and mighty God, and we acknowledge that, even as we in Helotes bask in the lovely weather of this season, others in Texas, Florida, and along the southern and eastern coastlines are suffering from the aftermath of hurricane season. We send a prayer of hope to our fellow citizens in these parts of our country. May those first responders who are assisting be kept safe, and may those who have lost all their material possessions be reminded to be thankful for their lives, which are of utmost importance. We ask special blessings on our own fire and police forces for their continued safety in their line of work. Tonight, this council asks for wisdom as we deliberate during our meeting. Help us to make the right decisions for our community with courtesy and consideration. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Okay, next up we have 3 public hearings. And it doesn't look like anyone signed up to speak, but we still need to go through these. So the first one we will start at 7:02. And this public hearing is to give all interested persons the right to appear and be heard on a resolution of the City Council of the City of Helotes, Texas, approving appropriations for the City of Helotes Economic Development Corporation's fiscal year ending 2018, maintenance and operations, interest in sinking, and capital budgets beginning October 1, 2017 and ending September 30th, 2018 to support the EDC's programs, projects as defined by Article 5190.6 of the Development Corporation Act of 1979, Sections 2 and 4B of Vernon's Texas Civil Statutes and Cooperatives, authorizing the city administrator and EDC executive director to take all necessary steps to implement the provisions of this resolution, incorporating recitals, providing for severability, and adopting an effective date. Since we had no speakers signed up, we will close this public hearing at 7:03. We will open the next one at 7:03. And this public hearing is to give all interested persons the right to appear and be heard on proposed City of Helotes fiscal year ending 2018 budgets, including but not limited to the General Fund, Debt Service Fund, Capital Replacement Fund, Municipal Court Security and Technology Funds, Police Training and Education Fund, School Safety Fund, PEG, or Public Access Channel Fund, Police, State, and Federal Forfeiture Funds, and Street Maintenance Fund budgets. We will end this public hearing, again, with no one signed up to speak, at 7:04. And we will open the last public hearing at 7:04. This public hearing is to give all interested persons the right to appear and be heard on the adoption of the proposed tax year 2017 ad valorem property tax rate. And we'll close that public hearing at 7:04. Next up, we have an open session, which is citizens to be heard. First speaker will be Council Member Villanueva. If you would please state your name, your address, and if you're speaking in behalf of you as a private citizen or as a council member, let us know, and your time will start after you give your address.
Okay, thank you. My name's Ed Villanueva, and I live at 10826 Basal Edge in Los Reyes Canyons here in Helotes. I'm speaking on behalf of a taxpayer, as a taxpayer, not a council person. Thank you. I'd like to appeal to my fellow council members regarding our annual city budget out of concern and savings for our taxpayers. Here are a few issues that I wish for you guys to consider. I'd like for you to consider the dispatch department that will only serve 2 municipalities with no return on its investment going into the future. Number 2, I'd like for you to address health concerns of our first responders regarding the mold issue that persists. Number 3, a municipality that has become known for its litigious propensities. Who benefits from these poor decisions? Only attorneys do, and we as taxpayers are on the losing end of this deal and end up footing the bill. The city of Helotes has spent over $500,000 in legal fees in just the past 3 years, and this is simply unacceptable to me. The city of Helotes fought a losing legal proceeding, mind you, with no case precedents in its favor, and the court handed down judgments totaling over $1.2 million against the city of Helotes. This being said, the city of Helotes has the highest level of debt in 36 years since incorporating. After this anticipated loss, believe it or not, we've had one council member who stated that he still believed the courts got it wrong and would do it all over again. This type of mentality is very troublesome and should be of concern to most. I want my fellow council members to seriously consider the termination of the dispatch center for the following reasons. It is not self-sustaining, and in my estimation, it will never be. Number 2, after 8 years of operation, it is still not operating favorably. Number 3, it is not being run by peace officers as the state of Texas mandates. Number 4, it is being run by city staff personnel with no peace officer or law enforcement experience. Most notably, it costs the city of Helotes $550,000 annually to operate, which is a major expenditure. Think of what we as council members could direct city staff to do with the savings should we terminate this department in favor of contracting with Bexar County or some other dispatch agency. Our savings could be anywhere from $400,000 to $550,000 annually. If Bexar County would contract with our city, let's say for example at a cost of $150,000 per year, why would our taxpayers want to pay a premium for this type of service? I know it's important, but it is just that, it's a service. These monies could be reallocated within our budget to be able to pay increases to city employees and possible bonuses, as we've been struggling to do annually. Additionally, we could elect to invest in equipment for our fire and police departments to meet the growing demands of our city's growth pattern. For those in our viewing audience, I know that only 2 of my fellow council members are objective minded in making this happen, while the other 3...
Your time has expired. Appreciate it.
I had just a few left.
Your time has expired. Right up there.
All right.
Okay, next up on the agenda is our consent agenda. Tonight, that's items 6 through 13. Consent agenda is typically made up of items that the staff and I consider to be fairly routine. So they're presented with the intent of having a motion and a second to gain approval of all of them at the same time. This is for expediency. However, council does have an opportunity to ask questions on any of the items or ask for an item to be pulled from the consent agenda for discussion later in the agenda. So I'd ask the council at this time, do you have any questions on any of the items, or do you have a request to pull an item?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I have a question.
Okay.
On agenda item number 11, this is more of an FYI question. These townhomes have been in the works for a long time. Do you have a start date on them? Or
No.
You do not?
No,
You don't?
but they've submitted their plans, so it's probably going to be coming up fairly quickly.
Okay, and then on the actual, I guess the plat, it's on I believe the 4th page in. There's a couple of lots behind the townhomes. Is that part of the townhome deal, or are they gonna, Are they supposed to be developing that later with more townhomes,
No,
or
that
do you
was,
know?
that was platted at that time when you all approved that plat back in, that's on your agenda item.
Okay, so they could possibly put more townhomes in there later, huh?
That's not their intent.
Okay.
They're going to utilize those, I believe, for something else, larger homes perhaps.
Oh, okay,
One per lot.
okay. That's all I had, thank you.
Any other questions? Any request to pull an item? Then I would ask for a motion and a second to approve consent agenda items 6 through 13.
Mayor, I make a motion, we approve consent agenda items 6 through 13.
Have a motion from Byes. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second from Massey. No discussion required. We'll call the question. All in favor of approving consent agenda items 6 through 13, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. I'm going to go back. I've neglected to ask Jerry and Vicky. You said you may want to speak. Did you want to speak during, you're okay? We're good. Okay. Okay, I'm going to pull item 14 and 15. We'll bring 14 back to you next week. They submitted some required information to us late today, and we didn't have a chance to look at it. And it's not something that I'm comfortable presenting to you guys without fully vetting it. So we'll bring that back at our next meeting. The item 15, we're still checking some verbiage on the codes, and we'll may bring that back next time. So that brings us to item 16, presentation of and discussion on proposed City of Helotes 2018 budget. And I was informed late today that Rick had to leave for personal reasons. He did include a summary. I can tell you that you have the numbers that he sent out. There's nothing substantial that we've changed. All we've done is updated the expense and revenue numbers for each line item. So far, you can see that our expected revenues coming in for the rest of the fiscal year, we're pretty close, and we anticipate being very close in the end, and the same with expenses. There are no line items that are dramatically out of where they should be. So if you have any questions or discussion items, I'll try and field those questions to the best of my ability. But there is a full review of them on that email that was sent out to you, and it was on your dais. So I'm open for questions. Otherwise, we'll have a full review prior to approval at our next meeting. Anything? Any concerns? Okay, we'll study those numbers, and I appreciate your indulgence on that. And we'll, like I say, have a full review next meeting. Okay, that brings us up to our item 17, our closed session. And this is a closed session in accordance with Texas Government Code 551.071, consultations with attorney. In addition to the matters listed below, any matters scheduled for open session may be discussed in closed session as appropriate and authorized by law. 551.071, consultations with attorney regarding Jerry Arredondo versus City of Helotes and Board of Adjustment of City of Helotes, Texas. So we're going to adjourn into a closed session at 7:14, and hopefully it won't be too long. You're welcome to stay. There may or may not be an action item when we get back. Okay, we're back from executive session at 7:46. And our executive session, our closed session, was in accordance with Texas Government Code 551.071. Consultations with attorney. In addition to the matters listed below, any matters scheduled for open session may be discussed in closed session as appropriate and authorized by law. Again, 551.071 specifically tonight was regarding Jerry Arredondo versus City of Helotes, Texas, and Board of Adjustment of the City of Helotes, Texas. No action was taken in closed session. However, we do have item 18 on the agenda, which allows discussion and action to be taken at this point in time. So I would ask for, to see if there's a motion to proceed with this item 18 in the matter of Arredondo versus City of Helotes and the Board of Adjustment of the City of Helotes.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion we discuss and take action on 18.
Would you care to state your motion?
Sure. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the Arredondo versus City of Helotes matter, subject to the changes authorized by City Council in executive session.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion from Buys, a second from Massey. For discussion and action, so Bert, it's your first up, since it's your motion.
Okay, if this is not settled, I would like this to be brought back to City Council in executive session.
Okay, and by not being settled, that they would not agree
I
with
would
the
not agree to
changes?
the changes that council made in executive session.
Okay, any other discussion or comments from you? Anything else?
No.
Cynthia?
No, I just think that the minor adjustments we made to the settlement should be acceptable to the Arredondos, and I would hope that they would sign it.
Ed?
No, I agree with what Councilmember Massey just said.
Okay, Alex?
I concur.
Okay, Paul?
I concur.
Okay, no further discussion. I would ask for the question then, and that is, all in favor of approving this motion, which is to, just read it one more time, Bert.
Okay. All right. I make a motion that we approve the Arredondo versus City of Helotes matter, subject to the changes authorized by the City Council in executive session.
And part of that motion is that if the changes that are not made, that were
If it is
suggested
not
by council,
settled,
if they're not made,
if it's
it'll
not
come
settled,
back to
that'd be brought back to City Council in executive session.
Very good. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries unanimously. And by golly, that brings us to the end of our agenda. So we are adjourned. If there are no objections to adjourning, we are adjourned at 7:50.